Lebyetkin? Filippov's house? I've heard something. Thank you, Nikon Semyonich. But who is this Lebyetkin? They call him a captain. An imprudent man, I'd have to say. And this is his sister, right enough. It seems she's escaped from under supervision, Nikon Semyonich said, lowering his voice and giving Varvara Petrovna a significant look. I understand. Thank you, Nikon Semyonovich. So, my dear, you are Miss Lebyetkin? No, I'm not Miss Lebyetkin. Then perhaps your brother is Lebyetkin? My brother is Lebyetkin. Here's what I'll do. I'll take you with me, my dear, and from my house you will be driven to your family. Would you like to come with me? Ah, yes, I would. Miss Lebyetkin clapped her hands. Auntie, take me with you too, cried the voice of Lizaveta Nikolaevna. I will note that Lizaveta Nikolaevna had come to the liturgy with the governor's wife, and that Praskovia Ivanovna, on doctor's orders, had meanwhile gone for a ride in a carriage, taking Mavriky Nikolaevich along for diversion. Liza suddenly abandoned the governor's wife and sprang over to Varvara Petrovna. I love how this Mavriky Nikolaevich is used kind of like a handkerchief by these women. Not that there's anything wrong with that. My dear, you know I'm always glad to have you, but what will your mother say? Varvara Petrovna began imposingly, but suddenly became confused, seeing Liza's extraordinary agitation. Auntie, I must come with you now, Liza begged, kissing Varvara Petrovna. But what is the matter with you, Liza? The governor's wife said with emphatic surprise. Ah, forgive me, my dear, cher cousin. I am going to my aunt's. Liza turned in mid-flight to her unpleasantly surprised cher cousin and kissed her twice. And tell Maman to come at once to fetch me at Auntie's. Maman really wanted to come. She told me so today. I forgot to tell you. Liza kept on rattling. It's not my fault. Don't be angry, Julie. Cher cousin. Auntie, I'm ready. If you don't take me with you, Auntie, I'll run screaming after your carriage, she whispered, quickly and desperately right into Varvara Petrovna's ear. Luckily, no one else heard it. Varvara Petrovna even started back a step and gave the mad girl a piercing look. This look decided everything. She resolved definitely to take Liza with her. I shall now read the same passage from Andrew R. McAndrew. Well, here's what we'll do, my dear. First you'll come home with me, and then later I'll have you driven back to your family. Would you like to come? Oh, yes, I would, Miss Lebyetkin cried, clapping her hands. Aunt Varvara, may I come along too? Liza's voice suddenly sounded out. Liza had arrived at the cathedral with the governor's wife, while her mother, following the doctor's orders, had gone for a drive in the carriage, taking Maurice along to keep her company. Now Liza suddenly left the governor's wife and darted toward Mrs. Stavrogin. Liza, my dear, you know very well I'm always happy to have you, but what would your mother say? Mrs. Stavrogin began stiffly, but seeing Liza's extraordinary agitation, she suddenly stopped in confusion. I'm coming with you, Aunt, I must, Liza insisted, kissing her. But what's the matter with you, Liza? The First Lady said in an emphatically surprised tone. I don't ever remember hearing her called the First Lady. That's very interesting. But what's the matter with you, Liza? The First Lady said in an emphatically surprised tone. Ah, forgive me, my dear, my cher cousin. I must go with Aunt Varvara. Liza turned quickly and, in a single movement, kissed her cher cousin twice. Mrs. von Limp seemed surprised and not at all appreciative. And please tell Maman to come over to Aunt Varvara's immediately. She told me this morning that she intended to drive over to your place. I forgot to warn you, Liza rattled on. I'm sorry, Aunt. Please forgive me. Julie, share cousin. I'm ready, Aunt Varvara. Then, putting her mouth close to Mrs. Stavrogin's ear, Liza said in a breathless, desperate whisper, I don't think they described it like that in the other translation. A breathless, desperate whisper. If you don't take me with you, I'll run behind your carriage and I'll scream right now. Fortunately, nobody heard her. Mrs. Stavrogin stepped back a little and glared piercingly at the young girl. What she saw convinced her that she had to take Liza along. I always remember that passage. Like Dostoevsky telling you what you see. You see this girl, Liza, right? And the look on her face, there's no compromise. You have to take her with you. I'm going to read, though. I don't remember him saying... If you don't take me with you, Auntie, I'll run screaming after your carriage, she whispered, quickly and desperately, right into Varvara Petrovna's ear. Luckily, no one else heard it. Varvara Petrovna even started back a step and gave the mad girl a piercing look. This look decided everything. She resolved definitely to take Liza with her. I like how this look decided everything, like her perception decided everything, not the way Liza was behaving, the way she perceived Liza to be behaving. Unbelievable. She resolved definitely to take Liza with her, and that sentence ends with an exclamation point. I like that too. What she saw convinced her that she had to take Liza along. We must put an end to this, escaped from her. Very well, Liza, I shall take you with pleasure, she at once added loudly. If Yulia Mikhailovna consents to let you go, of course. She turned directly to the governor's wife with an open look and straightforward dignity. Oh, I certainly would not want to deprive her of that pleasure, the less so in that I myself, Yulia Mikhailovna suddenly began prattling with surprising amiability, I myself well know what a fantastic, domineering little head we have on our pretty shoulders. Yulia Mikhailovna smiled charmingly. I thank you greatly, Varvara Petrovna thanked her with a polite and imposing bow. And it is all the more pleasant, Yulia Mikhailovna went on with her prattling, now almost enraptured, even blushing all over with pleasant excitement, that, besides the delight of visiting you, Liza has been carried away by such a beautiful, such a, I might say, lofty feeling, compassion. She glanced at the, quote, unfortunate, end of quote, woman. And right on the porch of the church. Such a view does you honor, Varvara Petrovna approved magnificently. Yulia Mikhailovna impetuously offered her hand, and Varvara Petrovna, with perfect readiness, touched it with her fingers. She didn't take her hand, she touched it with her fingers. That's so fucking good. I want to see what Andrew R. McAndrew says there. God, so fucking great. All right, let's put an end to this scene, she said abruptly. This is Andrew R. McAndrew translation. I'll be very glad if you come, Liza. That is, she added in a deliberately loud voice, if Mrs. von Limp is willing to let you come with me. And she turned with an air of straightforwardness and dignity toward the First Lady. I said First Lady again. The First Lady. Of course, how could I stand in the way and deprive her of the pleasure? Julie von Limp purred, especially since I know what a willful, whimsical head she carries on those frail shoulders of hers. She smiled disarmingly. Thank you very much, Mrs. Stavrogin acknowledged her graciousness with a stately and dignified bow. And I am the more delighted, Mrs. von Limp added almost rapturously, turning pink with agreeable excitement. I love like reading these translations. Like, you can imagine like what Dostoevsky must have said to make a translator say, turning pink with agreeable excitement. So good. And that, besides the pleasure she will derive just from being in your home, Liza is moved now by the beautiful, I might even say, sublime feeling of compassion. She glanced at Maria Lebyadkin, and what's more, on the very steps of the cathedral. I love this scene because it shows like how thrilled they are to have something happen at the church. You know, that they're saying basically like, this is like social media. This is like Facebook 1870. Like, oh, this is happening at the church. Everybody gets to see it, you know. Such a feeling is all to your honor, madam, Mrs. Stavrogin said approvingly. Mrs. von Limp impulsively held out her hand, and Mrs. Stavrogin, without hesitation, placed her fingers in it. It's funny because 10 minutes ago, this is the passage I was trying to get to, that she touched her hand. She didn't shake her hand. She touched her hand. So good. Oh my God, that's good. Mrs. von Limp impulsively held out her hand, and Mrs. Stavrogin, without hesitation, placed her fingers in it. The general effect on the audience was excellent. Some faces beamed, ingratiating smiles appeared on others. It suddenly became clear to everyone that it was not Mrs. von Limp who had snubbed Mrs. Stavrogin by failing to call on her, but Mrs. Stavrogin who had held her at arm's length, and that Mrs. von Limp would have gone to Mrs. Stavrogin's house on foot had she been sure of being received when she got there. Mrs. Stavrogin's prestige rose immensely. "Get in, dear," Mrs. Stavrogin said to Maria Lebyatkin, pointing to her carriage, which had driven up. Miss Lebyatkin joyfully limped forward to the carriage door, where a footman helped her in. "Good heavens, how you limp!" Mrs. Stavrogin cried with obvious fright in her voice. She had turned pale. Everyone noticed her turn pale, but no one understood why. It's one of those Dostoevskian moments. Everyone saw her turn pale, but no one knew why. What the fuck does that mean? So unbelievable. I want to see what he says in So it's the last sentence of that chapter. All right, so these are the last in Pavel Velikonskiy. "What? You're lame?" Varvara Petrovna cried out, as if totally frightened, and turned pale. Everyone noticed it at the time, but did not understand. Now, in Andrew R. McAndrew, so interesting. "What? You're lame?" Varvara Petrovna cried out, as if totally frightened, and turned pale. Everyone noticed it at the time, but did not understand. The carriage drove off. Varvara Petrovna's house was quite near the cathedral. Liza told me later that Miss Lebyatkin laughed hysterically for all 3 minutes of the ride. I love that Dostoevsky always gives you, like, time. He always gives you human time. You know, a clock, a timer. Miss Lebyatkin laughed hysterically for all 3 minutes of the ride, while Varvara Petrovna sat, quote, "as if in some magnetic sleep," end of quote. Liza's own expression. Gotta see what Andrew R. McAndrew says about that. The carriage moved away. Mrs. Stavrogin's house was only a short distance from the cathedral. Later, Liza told me that during the whole ride, which lasted about 3 minutes, Miss Lebyatkin kept laughing hysterically, and Mrs. Stavrogin sat in, quote, "some sort of a trance," end of quote, as Liza put it. Come on.